I am a big fan of the Predator franchise, horridly atrocious fourth movie notwithstanding, but I'm also really big into video games, and so far as I can tell, there aren't a lot of Predator games to pick from. Sure, there's a list of Alien vs. Predator games the length of my arm, where the Predator plays second fiddle to human marines and xenomorphs, but dedicated Predator games, let alone good ones, pickings are pretty slim. That's why for years I've been psyched to try out Predator Concrete Jungle, a game where you play as a predator hunting down gangsters in a city on Earth. It's like an expanded adaptation of Predator 2, a delightful slice of 80s cheese that I frickin' love, by the way.
There's no stopping what can't be stopped. No killing what can't be killed.
And since Concrete Jungle is backwards compatible with the Xbox 360, I finally have my chance to give it a try. Will it live up to years of personal hype? Probably not, but let's try it anyway. The game has a prologue set in 1930 where a predator, given the nickname Scarface about halfway through, is hunting down gangsters for sport in the fictional New Way City, but he gets caught and ends up doing what defeated predators do, blows himself up. However, apparently predators can survive that friggin' self-destruct nuclear blast that leveled a city, and since predators apparently have a prime directive of not being discovered by other races, he's exiled to a shithole as punishment. Luckily, predators live a really friggin' long time. Remember that in Predator 2, the tribe elder had a 4 centuries old pirate pistol as a trophy, and so 100 years later, Scarface is given a shot at redemption. Gangsters apparently salvaged tech and weapons left behind from Scarface's botched expedition and have used them to build Neonopolis, a cyberpunk dystopian city where gangsters rule everything. Their tech is so advanced that when new predators try to hunt there, they get curb stomped and captured almost instantly. So Scarface is sent back to Neonopolis to atone for the mistakes of his past by murdering everything. Yeah, contrast this creative story with the Predator movies where the one that tried to actually do something different was widely rejected, so we have to just keep redoing the first one with diminishing returns. As excellent as Predators was. You want a Predator to be the good guy, just go the Suicide Squad route of making him an asshole that kills worse assholes. And first off on Scarface's kill list is a voodoo-themed gang of black people that talks with uber-thick Jamaican accents.
Message in blood from our father Zaraguin, the Scorpion God.
Just roll with it, they're a reference to Predator 2.
You can't see the eyes of the demon until him come calling.
So now the real game starts. Your first objective is to, and I quote, flay the gangsters in cloaking suits. I leap down into a huge street brawl, figuring that the game is being euphemistic. After about 10 minutes fighting endlessly respawning goons, I realized that it was not. The game actually wants you to skin the enemies by grabbing them and taking them to perch points, and I have absolutely no idea how you do that. Keep in mind that most used games do not include instructions. The game does have 3 optional tutorials, but the tutorials only give you hints if you keep scouring their maps for unmapped beacons one at a time. And unless you play all 3 optional tutorials to full completion, you will have absolutely no idea how to beat the first level. You grab enemies by punching them without a weapon equipped, except you can only grab them if you're locked onto them, and these enemies have invisibility suits, so you have to switch to the tech visor to spot them properly. Okay, that wasn't too complicated. Once you've skinned your targets, the area fills up with police, and to finish this first level, you have to kill all of the cops. This is much easier said than done, because not only do the cops have a ton of walker mechs that shrug off all of your attacks, but patrol cops, which are pretty much indistinguishable from regular cops, will call in a limitless supply of backup at complete random if you don't kill them off fast. You're supposed to scan the cops by locking onto them while in first-person mode and while equipping the neural visor to figure out where the patrols are, and to use the first-person view with the tech visor to identify the weaknesses of the mechs. Again, first real level, not told how to do any of this. I hit upon the strategy to kill all the human cops first, just to make sure that I got all the patrols right away, but the mechs just keep kicking my ass. Hit-and-run tactics work to a point, but eventually they get lucky, and I die. Okay, well, let's scan the mechs for weaknesses and see what I need to do. Resistant or immune to all weapons except for EMPs. There are no EMP weapons in this level. I've searched it top to bottom a dozen times. That advice is about as useful as a skin rash! Eventually, I nailed a method for killing these things by running behind them or bobbing in and out so they take a melee swing and miss. but it took me well over an hour to slowly and painfully figure out how to beat the very first level and eventually get lucky enough for a perfect run. It's like the game itself has a blood ritual to prove that you're worthy before you can actually play it. Alright, Concrete Jungle is broken into 27 levels, which alternate in gameplay between platforming, stealth, and combat. And by combat, I mean melee combat because while you do have some ranged weapons, they all suck nards. The Plasma Caster Shoulder Gun devours energy faster than a Ninja Turtle through pizza in exchange for pretty mediocre damage. The Spear Gun is a sniper rifle that only carries 10 shots, and the only good ranged weapon, the Smart Disc, is energy efficient but doesn't deal good damage until it's fully upgraded at the very end of the game. Could have fooled me since the base model cleaves an armored Gary Busey clean in half in the movie. The rest of your arsenal consists of mines that you'll almost always use as close-range grenades, and melee weapons of varying blends of speed and power. My personal advice, Maul for mechs, Glaive for everything else, Combi Stick for getting your ass kicked. That's not to say that your arsenal is useless, though. The game is designed to have you play like an actual predator. You're meant to stalk your opponents by keeping out of sight on high perch points and by carefully using invisibility, tactically thinning their numbers of key targets with a sniper rifle or ambush tactics, avoid unnecessary fights since a lot of enemies respawn, and you scan your prey for weaknesses using the visors, and you track them using the black magic bullshit neural visor that reads a target's mind to not only tell you their affiliation, role, and ranking at their job, but also marks everyone in their professional/social circle. How is this even a thing? The problem is that Concrete Jungle's ambition wildly outstrips its actual gameplay, and you get the sense that a lot of its systems just don't work the way they're supposed to. You can scan enemies for weaknesses to scope out your targets, but the game doesn't pause to let you actually read the information, so good luck getting the results of a scan without dying. And even if it did work, there's no point. Either the enemy is cannon fodder that about any weapon works on, or they're bosses that are resistant to everything. And if it's mechanical, it is always vulnerable to pulse mines. That's it. The Walker mechs do actually have a weak point where you can very rarely jump on their back for what seems to be an instant kill, but the scanning doesn't tell you that. Nothing in the game tells you that. I just happened to look it up in a walkthrough near the end of the game. But the biggest problem impeding how you're supposed to play is the platforming. Sweet crap, the platforming. You have a super jump that you can charge to clear tons of height at a time, but even fully charged, it doesn't clear the vast majority of jumps in several of the levels. Maps will often be so dickishly laid out that a lot of waypoints will have one and only one completely unmarked set of platforms that you can cross to reach them. And if you don't find that one magic invisible yellow brick road, then you will perpetually jump in futility at out-of-reach grips until you run out of time or get detected and fail the stealth. Yeah, compounding the platforming issues into the bane of your existence, quite a few objectives in the game are timed, or positioned over pits of enemies that net you an instant fail. And the cherry on top is that the jumping is incredibly stiff and clunky, to where you'll miss jumps constantly on accident. The super jump doesn't actually charge unless you stop moving for about a full second first, and because the camera swings downward, it's hard to tell where you're going. I cannot friggin' begin to tell you how many missions I failed instantly just for missing one single jump. Either landing in front of someone who broke stealth and failed the mission, or needing to backtrack so far for another crack at said jump that my target get away and I failed for time. The level where you stalk the Mexican gang leader whilst dodging police cameras is utterly maddening in both regards, especially since it ends with you needing to jump up to a penthouse with absolutely no idea where it is, let alone how the hell you get up there. 9 times out of 10, I was much better off just going to ground level and running after objectives because leaping the tops of buildings was slow at best and impossible at worst. People don't look behind them much in the future, do they? And if you think maybe the platforming's fine and I'm just an idiot or my controller's broken or something, the game has 8 unlockable ritual challenges. You'd think they'd be combat given the license, but apparently the Predators are really hardcore into parkour because all the rituals are platforming obstacle courses. Not even obstacles, just try and get a series of normal jumps in plain sight to work. Basic jumping is literally a challenge mode. The levels are designed such that quite a few involve heavy trial and error, which brings me to my next point. None of the levels have any checkpoints. Ever. Every single time those police mechs killed me in the first level, I had to go back through the gangsters again. Or, just for a fresh example, the first level of Chapter 3, where you're sneakily hunting a bunch of numb drug heads called the Dead Men. I'll give them this. Accurate gang name if I've ever heard one. Step 1, reach 3 cloaked beacons. That's simple enough. It's just simple jump. Shit! I missed a jump and fell in the water. My cloaking's on the fritz in frustrating accordance with canon, and now my stealth is boned. Step 2, stop 4 street punks from getting away with stolen drugs without raising an alarm. Okay, that should be pretty simple. Just stay up here and stalk. What? That part of the level is timed? Oh, eat me. Step 3, stop an arms deal. Pretty simple, quick little fight. I just jumped down. What? A car just blew up out of nowhere, and now I have to start this shit over again! Okay, take another crack at this. Back to the arms deal. Aha! I didn't fall for the exploding car trick this time! I got this level in the... No! I'm alive! Suck eggs! Or a few levels later, you're stalking the leader of a gang dressed like a bunch of luchadors. Yes, really. And to do this, you have to evade police curfew cameras and get to a series of waypoints to listen in on him without being detected. But the cameras are so strictly laid out, the platform so poorly arranged, and the jumping so restrictive, there's basically one path through the level that doesn't get you killed, and you die over and over and over until you figure it out. And pray to God you don't die when you go hunting his arm dealers and have to do the sneaking crap again. The thing is, though, I utterly despised Mission Impossible on the Nintendo 64 for being pure trial and error, but that game kept killing you for bullshit, unclear reasons, laced its levels with brutal traps, and all that was layered over stiff, clunky, unfun gameplay. Whereas with Concrete Jungle, looking back at my footage and notes, there weren't all that many trial and error levels. You figure out pretty quickly what's getting you killed, and buried under the issues is a pretty solid game once you dig down to it. The game is broken into chapters where you need to go 2 or 3 levels at a time with one set of equipment, including starting with 3 medkits and needing to either ration them or scavenge for extras. So even though the combat is mostly button mashing, it never feels boring because that pressure is always on to conserve health and gadgets while surrounded by enemies, using whatever cover you can find and rationing your ranged weapons. Energy is a valuable resource since the cloaking doesn't make you fully invisible, but it is still a vital skill, and you might not be able to refill said energy on command. But this gear system never feels unfair, even at the end of the game when equipment management becomes a critical concern. Stalking enemies is a pain, but it's also only a small part of the game, with other levels being built around straight-up brawls, tensely sneaking and exploring an environment without getting caught, methodically carving your way through a big map, tactically taking out a variety of threats, or big open maps exploring for switches and dodging traps to where the game never gets repetitive. As annoying as traversing levels is when the game slaps on a time limit, the big open environments do give you a sense of freedom, and the game rewards diligent exploration with refills to your health and energy, upgrades to your weapons, and bonus objectives that reward you with permanent health, armor, and energy upgrades, along with some new costumes. It's odd that they don't tell you what the bonus objectives are until you find a hidden marker or stumble across them by accident like I always did. For example, that first post-tutorial level, I just run across a guy with a thing on his head. I kill him and boom, apparently I just took out a notorious serial killer. Go me! Also, only one escort mission, and it's really short and easy. The controls are jammed full of commands that you need to memorize, but once you know all the functions, they're pretty intuitive and give you tons of tools to get through levels however you can. The vision modes make it easy to survey areas and to find what you need when you need it, and you have a wide arsenal of weapons in a pinch. I haven't played a lot of the Alien vs. Predator games because, frankly, there are tons of them, but compared to AVP Classic 2000, where the Predator is just a run-of-the-mill FPS with gimmicky weapons, this does way more to actually make you feel like you're playing the iconic monster, both in the wide variety of activities that they have you do, and in forcing you to think tactically around situations where you're outmatched. You feel like a powerful badass, but you still have your limits. Sure, you have the infuriating mission dodging police cameras, but right after it is a level stalking a big map hunting down pimps, and optionally very militant hookers. Predators don't seem to understand what's meant by boning a prostitute. Funnily enough, for as brutally difficult as some of the levels can get, most of the bosses are a cakewalk. Some have laser or missile spam attacks to watch out for, but by and large they're just damage sponges where if you beat the level leading to them with any decent number of med packs, you're golden. My favorite part is that when the mob gets word of the Predator and sends a highly elite squad of cyborg hitmen to kill you, said hitmen are complete morons who just dogpile you so that you can damage them all at once and have an intense fear of floors. Seriously, if you jump to ground level, they will utterly refuse to chase you and will instead all huddle up in a corner, impotently yelling at you. This is so what people mean when they say to touch grass. After the Predator has slain his way through several street gangs, he gets a lead on the game's main villain and head of the syndicate that runs the city, Lucretia Borgia, or as I call her, Mistress Horrible Voice Actress.
El Demonio Invisible. In the name of screaming shit.
So you stalk the head of the masked wrestler gang some more until he leads you to the heart of Borgia's operations. And this dock level... ay caramba! After spying on your target to learn about a black market auction, you need to sneak around patrols to swipe some pulse mines, then dash your way back to a generator room to record a voice lock password with a very narrow time limit to intercept. Sounds simple? Getting the pulse mines, piece of cake. Little sniping here, exploration there. But getting back to that damn generator room in an extremely tight time limit takes a long series of perfectly executed jumps where missing once is game over, forcing you to do all this tedious sniper shit over and over and over. Also, at one point, the bonus objective, gang leader that you're supposed to kill, completely glitched out of existence. But I finally got the perfect run, made it back to the generator room to swipe the password, and I finally get inside to get spotted and die instantly. What the fuck? The door is guarded by two cyborgs that raise the alarm and fail you the instant the door opens. So what the hell do you do? I'll tell you what you do. Step 1, figure out that you can sequence break this level and grab the pulse mines before spying on your target so the generator later doesn't move until you're right on top of her. And 2, apparently voice locks will still work if you're standing 2 stories away from them. Of course! How did I miss that? I am really gonna enjoy nuking the shit out of your cargo ship now, you piece of crap. Now is really not the time for the jumping to fail. I will not redo all this. Oh, thank God. But alas, after a thrilling infiltration and raid on a huge depot and ripping the spines out of some more hitmen, Lucretia's dad Hunter steps in and Scarface gets trapped and captured. We get a bunch of exposition and 3 easy gimme flashback levels laying down the game's backstory. Halfway through, the hunt that got Scarface banished, he was tracking a big-time gangster named Bruno Borgia. Insert requisite we don't talk about Bruno reference that'll be dated in a year. And I take it these flashback stages aren't going to be stealth-oriented because, according to this cutscene, Bruno's men don't have eyes! The actual fight with Bruno is pretty funny though. My first try, he called in reinforcements to dogpile and kill me. The second fight, I lured him into a back room where none of his goons followed. Couldn't figure out how the curtains work, I guess. But I lost because, by the logic of video games, getting hit with an axe hurts much more than being shot. My third try, Bruno wisened up and refused to follow me into the back room. And then, I don't know what happens. My attacks start dealing massive damage for no clear reason, and I swear in the background it looks like Bruno's men are dumping Molotov cocktails onto their own boss. Brilliant! Well, Crystal, it looks like Bruno's men are fired. Now that's a reference that's timeless. After that night, Bruno's surviving family salvaged the Predator's technology and used it to build a huge tech conglomerate that rebuilt Neonopolis in their own image. And they run everything in the city with an advanced computer called Mother. And in case you didn't catch the reference to the AI that runs the Nostromo in Alien, they also make direct reference to the Weyland-Yutani Corporation that dominates the Alien franchise.
It can bid for it like the Yutani Corporation, Weyland Industries, or anybody else. You were friends with Charles Weyland before he disappeared.
The game implies that all the advanced sci-fi tech in the Alien movies is the result of mankind finding and reverse engineering Predator technology, Which is funny, because 2.5 years later, Alien vs. Predator Requiem would end on literally the exact same reveal. Mother also doubles as an omniscient narrator to get around how our main character can't talk.
The gangs of Neonopolis had no idea they were simply puppets in the grip of an alpha killer from another, harsher world.
Luckily, the scientists are idiots who don't give Scarface enough sedatives, and you have the stealth level where you escape in a weakened state by rather humorously using the Predator's voice recorder to tell one of the guards that another is banging his wife to start a fight. Again, short level that took a lot of dying instantly to figure out because half the halls lead to dead ends and the head scientists that you need to bypass retinal scanners are tucked away in a corner with no hints. Good to know that enemies are only alerted to your presence if they directly see you though, because 2 scientists running past screaming their heads off that one of the monsters got loose does not break stealth. Probably my favorite level is Prey of the Clan, which comes right after your escape from the Borgias. It tasks you with grabbing scientists to shut down weather machines that are screwing with your cloaking, which requires jumping across a bunch of sci-fi buildings clearly signposted with jumps that are in easy reach, whilst dodging a sniper and police hovercraft and fighting a brainwashed evil predator that's trying to kill all your targets first. It's an exhilarating, fun, challenging level that doesn't rely on guesswork or cheap instant fails. And it's a nice respite for several levels of pure punishment that follow after. The next level, 10,000 Ways to Die, has you crossing another sci-fi city map, fighting tons of soldiers, snipers, robot mechs, hovercraft, a minefield, and Lucretia's samurai bodyguards. It's an endurance map that pushes your skills and your inventory to their limits, and that'd be fine if not for douchebags continuously firing virtually unavoidable heat-seeking missiles at several points in the level. If you don't pull off a perfectly timed jump and get extremely lucky, these things will bleed you of health, and there is nothing you can do about it. Especially not when the damn Predator refuses to climb the climbable wall in lieu of getting shot for no damn reason! No matter how much you scour the level for items, it's pretty much impossible to avoid getting the unholy man shit beaten out of you. And I looked all over, there's only one health pickup until the very end. I even looked up a walkthrough on GameFAQs, and the only advice there was, oh, just kill all the bad guys. Gee, thanks, great plan, douchebags! If you didn't finish the previous level with all 3 med packs, which takes extensive backtracking and throwing yourself off the map at one point to get one you couldn't go back for, then you are screwed! By the way, you have your first fight with an upgraded walker, and these things pop open when killed to reveal that they're piloted by naked quadruple amputees with tubes on their dicks. Why the penis hose? I get everything except the penis hose. By this point, Lucretia has figured out that she's in deep shit, and she runs away to the mother facility with Scarface hitching a ride. So the last 7 levels are you storming the fortress and taking down this criminal empire for good. And you're immediately locked in a robotics lab where you have to fight 12 of the damn walker enemies, 3 or 4 at a time. Seriously. It's a brutal fight that sucks out all your resources right at the start of this batch of levels. Oh, they give you a stockpile of 12 EMP mines at the start, but go ahead and blow them all in this opening fight, I dare you, because there are several more upgraded walkers later in the level. At the end of the stage, you get ambushed by 3 more walkers in a tight hallway guarding an elevator, and by this point, I'm just running on fumes in terms of gear and health, and I'm getting absolutely plastered. In desperation not to have to repeat the dozen mech fights I get to this point, I discover that you can smash into nearby offices to scavenge for items, and I find a bonus objective. Destroy all Ulysses mechs guarding the elevator. What? So literally every Tough as Nails walker mech is absolutely mandatory to kill to advance the stage, except for these 3 at the end. Turns out you just have to grab an employee and drag them to a scanner to open the elevator, and you win. How do you figure this out when the game only gives you an oblique hint at best that this is the case? I don't know. And the next level is a fight with 4 cyborgs with super laser that all fire at once and kill you in one hit, so bad news, dude! If you didn't get really freaking good at fighting mechs enough to carefully ration your mines and save all your health packs, you're pretty much screwed. Half of these end levels require 2 playthroughs, one to figure out how they work and memorize the map, and one to beat them with halfway decent supplies left over. It turns out that Mother is run and overseen by Isabella Borgia, whose name I had to look up. The lady Scarface walked in on having a baby during the flashback. When he found her having just given birth, he, for no real reason besides plot convenience, took off his helmet and stood there staring while she slowly took out a pistol and shot him in the eye. Scarface's blood splashed onto both Isabella and her son Hunter, giving them both significantly extended lifespans and superhuman strength. They made Neonopolis a shithole specifically so that they could lure, capture, and harvest predators to extend their own lives and for cloning and bioweapons. Gee, the corporation that runs things is a front for gangsters and makes people's lives suck on purpose for personal gain. Who says video games weren't political before 2016? Scarface steps out to shut down Mother, but she has one last ultimate weapon to throw at you. Bitch, I'm not scared. I fought through an army of big-ass mechs, cyborg hitmen, cloned predators, and kabuki samurai wannabes to get here. What could you possibly throw at me?
Say hello to my little friends. Have fun together.
Oh, shit. Mother's secret weapon is an army of xenomorphs. Didn't want an AVP game, but got one anyway. This is admittedly a really badass moment and reveal, even though the game itself just kind of shrugs as to how the hell the aliens got here. Anyway, you have to navigate a damn maze of tunnels to shut down 4 cooling fans to destroy Mother, with respawning aliens pestering you the whole way. The aliens aren't even that tough, their acid blood hurts, but not badly. The problem is you have to climb a lot of walls really slowly, and the Xenos will outrun, swarm, and kill you while you're climbing. You can repel them with sonic or pulse mines, but the refills are really hard to reach without extensive practice and memorization, and running out of both is a complete death sentence. What confuses me, though, is that you're also given several fire and plasma mines, but using those on the walls kills you instantly. What in the name of hell? I'm pretty sure this is the only point in the entire game where your weapons backfire on you. But that's not even the worst part. Once you shut down the fans, you have to destroy the core. Beats me where the hell the damn core is, though, because it's the only thing that they don't mark on the map, and this level is a freaking maze. But once you destroy the core is a shockingly nice filler level where you just have to walk back to Mother's chamber, which only takes about 2 minutes if you stumbled across the shortcut last stage. And if you stop to kill at least 50 aliens, which you probably will on accident, then you get a new costume. The Predator 2 armor. Not the Alien vs. Predator armor, which is in the game. Odd. Once you make your way back to Isabella, she confesses that ever since that night where Scarface tried to kill her, she's been infatuated with him. I'd laugh, but she's a crazy lady who's been locked in a tube for decades, and I'm hardly one to judge.
We only had that one night, but I never did get over you.
I can't tell you how many nights I've dreamed of you penetrating me with your long, rock-hard staff. Oh, no, wait, freezing! Hunter Borgia, meanwhile, is using genetic editing technology to try and transform himself into a predator for the final battle. Which, why is Hunter the final boss? Dude's had, maybe 3 minutes of screen time and we don't know a thing about him. The one and only main villain this whole time has been Lucretia, whom Hunter kills with a bitch slap. Seriously, thrown across the room, doesn't hit anything, dead anyway. I'm not entirely sure how the Hunter fight works. The guy acts like he's getting hurt, but his health bar doesn't go down. And at some point, Lucretia's samurai bodyguards join the fight, and then he dies in a few hits and runs away. I don't know if the health bar display is glitched, or if you just have to survive a certain number of minutes, or if it's an emulation problem on the 360, whatever. The final boss fight with Hunter is honestly not any different from all the other bosses. I just kept running behind him and kept him mostly stun-locked with the glaive. After discovering that friendly fire is on for the bodyguard dudes, so I just sat back and let them whittle down his health for a while before I jumped on. The only hard part of this battle is that Hunter has discovered that the platforming is a far greater threat to you than he could ever dream of being, so he forces you to chase him across a statue of his dad. But you kill Hunter Borgia, and thus Scarface has successfully wiped out the crime empire that stole his tech to rule a city avenged the deaths of his race, and reclaimed his honor. And before he leaves, he uses Hunter's blood to draw his clan symbol on Bruno's statue's face to remind the whole city of who really owns it. After the credits is a scene of Weyland-Yutani acquiring what's left of Borgia Industries, including dumping Lucretia in to be the new host for the mother computer, which, for the girl who just wanted to get the hell out of Neonopolis, is a pretty chilling fate worse than death. So the next time you mock Rogue One for spending a whole movie to patch a single plot hole, remember that Predator Concrete Jungle spent its entire time establishing the origins of a computer system from a single movie from another franchise. Predator Concrete Jungle is a good game, but there are enough annoying things about it that it's hard to recommend to someone that isn't very patient with it. It has several frustrating levels with steep difficulty curves to the point that multiple people have told me that they couldn't get out of the first level. And honestly, I can't really argue with that. This game has a lot of rage quits, but if you stick it out, it's a pretty fun and rewarding game, and hands down the best emulation of actually playing as a Predator that I've seen in a game yet. So yeah, if you're curious, check this one out. Or perhaps I should say, hunt down a copy. I am not sorry.